What's up, Mortgage Coach community? Coming live to you on Monday afternoon and with none other than the one and only Ken Perry. What's up, buddy?
Living the dream, Dave. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. For any of you new loan officers are like, who's this Ken Perry dude? To me, he is the guru of compliance, but not in like a nerdy way. Like the more you meet Ken, you're like, so this guy does compliance training, and then also he makes it fun. Like you're just around this guy and you're laughing. I think he's one of the guys that best epitomizes edutainment. Everything that you can follow this guy on social media is just pure entertainment. Ken, for any new loan officers watching, how would you position yourself to these people?
Yeah, how would I position myself? You said it well. I definitely geek out on all things compliance. I own an education technology company called the Knowledge Coop. So we deliver as much content to the industry as we can, and then help companies collaborate a little bit better inside their own organizations. But what's funny is we had our company meeting today, and I was talking to the team about what the mortgage industry is going through and our role in that, and just how crazy the market is. And the more we can be out there and sharing, helping people understand what's going on, helping people understand what they need to pay attention to, like that's what we do. We're here to make the industry a better place than the way we found it. And been doing this for 19 years. Yeah, 19 years.
And how many people go through your compliance training every year? Just ballpark it.
We have 45,000 users total. So if you were to take those that take our trainings, it's about 45,000 a year. And some of that is pre-licensing education, continuing education, and then companies that have a Coop that they're using as their intranet or internal training platform. So yeah, that's what we're at. It's crazy.
So think about that, guys. I mean, this guy is a major influencer in the mortgage space, and he's a really good sales guy too. You don't build a company like Knowledge Coop and not have some sales chops. And one of the things I used to do with Ken a lot is how good compliance is also good sales strategy. So him and I have done a lot of content on just compliance and sales training. So Ken, today I wanted to talk about, how to earn trust in a society where distrust is the default. Like I got that quote from Kristen Messerly because when her and I were creating some content together, I had actually never heard of the Edelman Trust Barometer before, but for over 20 years, this is the source of measuring trust in the world. They measure trust in different countries. They measure trust across all different industries, government, institutions, businesses, and the real takeaway is, and I'm actually going to show a slide. I've been speaking at a lot of sales rallies lately, and one of my kind of like first things that I've learned. Actually, that's not what
that guy's looking sharp.
Yeah, right. Yeah, one of the first things I say is like, for the first time in history, and this is not just the mortgage industry, distrust is now the default.
Yeah.
And so how do we overcome that? And in the mortgage industry, interest rates have gone up a lot. And do you think, as a loan officer, when you tell a customer what rates are this year versus last year, do you think they trust you more? Like last year when you told them rates, they're like, yeah, maybe if they were surprised, it was like how low it was.
Right.
But now they're sad, they're mad, and they distrust you even more. So we're in a society of distrust, we're in an industry of distrust, and the product we sold for the 2 years that was literally the best, lowest rates, easiest to sell product in the history of the mortgage might just be the hardest product to sell in America. So with that frame, Ken, what are some of your thoughts for loan officers on how they can earn trust in a world like we live today?
It's tough, man. So a little bit of the family background, my wife is a therapist, mental health therapist. And so you're talking about how hard it is to earn trust. That we have a lot of issues coming out of the last 2 years. The last 2 years really did a lot more damage than good in our trust of people, in anxiety, depression's up. Like everybody's kind of like standing back, like I don't even know what to think or what to believe anymore. And there's definitely more complaints, CFPB seeing more complaints, like everything's up in this lack of of believing that people are out for their best good or what they're telling them is true. And if you think about it, I mean, you remember, dude, I'm gonna go deep. Ready? I just watched videos from 2 years ago, me, and I went through a horrible time during the pandemic. And I'm watching these videos of me that I was like releasing, where I'm like, look, this is the case, and this is what I just learned. And then like 2 days later, I'm like, okay, that was totally wrong. This is the case. Like what I found is a lot of the shifting sands of what's true and what's not, because when people don't know if something's truth, they just kind of make something up people will believe, and then it just sails. And then you find out later that wasn't true. So the world, no matter who you were listening to, nobody knew. And so we were trying to just get our feet on solid ground of this is real. And that was such a struggle that I think that's playing out in all of our situations, right? So if you tell me something's true, I go, yeah, maybe. And if you take into account, which is where I go to the compliance side, one of the reasons I get so angry when people lie about what the rates are, about what they're doing, I get angry because those lies are making consumers believe one thing that makes the good guys who are honest and trustworthy look bad. Because now they're being honest and they're like, no, I can't do that. Or like, they're lying to you, you know.
Right.
Well, of course you would say that. You're against them. Like you have to build such a deeper relationship with people to build the trust first before they're going to believe in you as a human being. And I find that's kind of where we're at right now. If I trust you 100%, like, and I believe you, which is tough to get, then I might then follow you in what you're saying, right? Like I trust you, right? If Dave Savage tells me something, I would freaking believe it. But we have years of relationship, right? If I've got somebody that hasn't built a relationship with me, that's sending me an email like, this is what's happening with the market, I don't know if it is. I don't know you. Like, build the relationship so I can decide whether whether you're trustworthy at that point. But the default is I don't trust you at all.
Right. So I believe that there are very specific things a loan officer can do. And let's just focus on a consumer, because I think if we were talking about a realtor, it wouldn't be radically different, but there would be nuances.
Sure.
And it would be different because at the end of the day, as a loan officer, our job with realtors is not just close loans on time, but to help solve problems and to be an extension of their sales process. But let's focus on a consumer. And I have some tactics that I know I'm going to share. So, but I would love to know what are, if you were talking to a loan officer and you're like, hey, here is 3 steps. And I'm not saying it's as simple as 3 steps, might be more than that. But if there were the Kim Perry 3 steps to building trust with, let's just say, first-time homebuyer, because I do believe that is the hottest market. Loan officer. I'm pretty much putting on my business card. I specialize in working with first-time homebuyers because it's such a demographically hot market. Now that the number of households that have a mortgage that starts with a 2, people are going to think twice before selling a house with an interest rate that starts with a 2. It's not going to be a hot market. Right. So first-time homebuyer, Kim Perry's top 3 steps to building trust.
Oh man, on the spot. Okay, here we go. First of all, the key to a first-time homebuyer, if they're a young first-time homebuyer, the key is in the parents. I mean, if you look at how enmeshed parents are with their kids now, like kids don't do really anything without their parents telling them like this, like without going to their parents, and their parents like going, all right, here's what I want you to do. This person I want to talk to you. I don't want you to get messed over. Like, I don't want to, I mean, I'm seeing so much of that. I don't know if you're part of Grown and Flown, the Facebook page.
No, Grown and Flown. By the way, Ken, keep talking. I'm going to get a pen, but
cool.
Keep it going.
So Grown and Flown is this page where people go, I'm so worried about my kid. Here's what they're doing in college. And there's so much just boundary issues in there. And then there's some like legit, we really want to reach out and help this kid. So there's this back and forth in there, but that just shows you that parents are so overwhelmingly involved in their kids' lives. And we have 3 kids. We're the same. Like I know what's going on with my kids. We talk all the time, and they're grownups. And so I just went to lunch with my son. We did a burger review, and over lunch, we're talking about how life is, and we're talking about how to have a roommate, and like, what does that look like? And he's got a roommate. It's like, all right, well, how do you get really clear on those conversations? I'm having conversations with him that my parents would have had with me, but not, we're involved. And so the key to a first-time home buyer is if you did the loan for their parents trusted you, you have that inherent trust built in where you should be having those conversations with those parents. Hey, I've done 3 loans with you. How are the kids doing? Like, dive into the kids' world. And are they thinking about buying a house? Like, at what point should I walk in? and help them out. So that would be the first thing. The second thing, you almost have to, I would say, over knowledge people of like,
Hey, real quick, before we go to
yeah,
number two.
yeah,
So number one, it's first-time home buyers, be intentional around the parents.
mhm,
And like, this was not going to be one of my three tactics, but now I think it is. I'm thinking about when a loan officer gives a first-time home buyer a rent versus own, or gives them mortgage options, there is an increased amount of importance with putting the video on it.
oh yeah,
And an increased amount of importance. It don't just like leave it to them to share it with the parents, but now like, hey, find out within the loan consultation, are your parents, are they advisors to you? Are you active getting advice to your parents, and are they going to see this? And, people are kind of go different directions. They're gonna be like, no, I'm on my own. And there's gonna be some people, oh yeah, they're helping us with the down payment. And then you might say as a loan officer, hey, would it be helpful that when I forward this to you and I email it, I loop in your parents? Or it might be smart to say, hey, I put this together for you and your options, and I put a video on it. And by the way, would it be a good idea to know the parents' names so that
yeah,
John and
right,
Sue, your parents, are in the loop? And another takeaway that just came to mind as you said that, would it be smart that when you're putting the video on it, that you actually called out? Like if in the discovery process, you found out that the parents were involved, they're loading the down payment, that you actually kind of spoke to them and, hey, John, Mr. Such and such, I did this. So I hadn't thought of that, but I think you're so on point. Loop it, be intentional with the parents, and make sure you're tailoring it and you're making sure you're putting a video on it. Fair enough?
well, yeah, and you nailed it, because anytime we do a video, you and I do a lot of video. When we do video, we think, who's the viewer? You always have to start with that, right? So you should be doing that, whether it's a first-time home buyer or anybody. Will a realtor see this? Who's going to see this, so that my video doesn't, make my borrower happy, but make somebody else go, they just kind of say something about me. Like, you got to make sure that you know where that's going. So yeah, that's in through the parents is a great way. And if you're not doing the loans for the parents, then that's also a great way to loop them in, almost like, getting a buyer's agent and then looping in the listing agent, making them impressed. So you want everybody in that process to be impressed.
Okay, so number one, tailor for parents.
Right.
And one more idea, just while we're dogpiling, for all the clients that you have and relationships you have that are parents, we need to be more intentional than ever at knowing the age of the kids and getting there before the realtor. Like
Yeah.
it should be a goal for every past client that you have, or person you have a relationship with. You're pushing yourself into, hey, I want to help your kids get a house. What's the goal? And get a referral. So sorry, keep going, bro.
Okay, second thing, because you're looking for that inherent trust, right? People trust the people that are trusted. And so if I was to go in to a company, let's say like my company, right? We have a lot of young people at the office, and a bunch of them are now homeowners since they started working for us. And so you've got this opportunity. If you went in through the employer, it'd be awesome. If somebody wanted to come and talk about home ownership at my company, like in my office, it'd be cool. Open up the doors, let them do like a lunch and learn for the employees, answer all the questions that they have. You get that trust because it's like me saying, hey, you guys, I brought in this, like, this is the best loan officer I know. I brought this person in to have a conversation with you guys about what home ownership is like. And now you're getting that engagement because they came in through the owner of the company or the manager or whatever that person is. So going in through that employer, getting that employer sign off is also really helpful because people will trust that, right? We've recommended a ton of stuff at the office and everybody ends up buying very similar things, playing very similar games. Like there's so much already built in trust that if you can attach yourself onto that built-in trust, then you get the kind of, that's like the easy road, in my opinion.
Okay, so what's the number two takeaway there? You
Tie
said
yourself in with the companies. So
okay,
go
I got
through
it.
the companies.
So corporate relationships.
Yeah.
Corporate. Okay, and get referred. That would accelerate trust. I totally agree.
Yeah. I think the third one. So I had this conversation with the Housing Finance Agency of Washington. There's a housing finance agency in every state, right? And what they do is they take money given to them by the federal government and they basically give it out to people. And I was talking to them and I was like, so tell me about, a story of when you gave money away. They had an $80,000 down payment assistance, doesn't have to get paid back. They got handed to a buyer, a buyer. And that person comes in going, this is like the best thing ever, right? And I go, oh, you guys must run out of money a lot, like really fast. And they're like, no, like people aren't using our program. And I was like, why? And they said, number one, they don't fully understand it, or they don't do their research because they want the quick and easy money. And then number two, during busy times, if you go in with down payment assistance against a cash offer, the listing agent's never going to take the down payment assistance deal, even though they should. They're not going to take it because it doesn't make sense over a cash offer. Right now, sellers are willing to work with you. And so if you have the knowledge of all of the programs, you're a much better loan officer to be able to say, I've got this and I've got this and I've got this and I've got this, versus, yeah, I do loans. Absolutely. Let's get you one of these, FHA, first time buyer program, whatever. You want to be able to say, these are all the things that I've researched, because here's where trust comes into that. If I am a loan officer pitching against Dave, like we're both talking to the same borrower, and I go, did Dave talk to you about the down payment assistance programs that are available and how much money is actually available in our state to be able to give you that? And they go, no. Like, boom, I take out Dave's trust. Why is Dave hiding that? Like, why wouldn't Dave talk about that? Does Dave not have access to that? And even the 2-1 buy down stuff, I'm seeing so much. How are there camps on 2-1 buy down? Like, some people are like, they're horrible and nobody should ever do them and stop talking about them. And others are like, it should be done all the time. And there's like these arguments back and forth, but really it's not about whether a loan officer thinks a 2-1 buy down is a good deal. It's about whether the borrower sees that you're presenting them with all of their available programs and then giving them the opportunity to choose from that list. And so if you were just to go in and take that borrower and be like, oh yeah, I'll throw you into a deal, you're fine. And then you eliminate all the things that they might qualify for because you don't know enough about those, then you basically are telling them, you can't trust me to shop the best deal for you. Same goes for a broker that's only shopping one lender. Like, you're a broker, shop all the lenders, find out what's up. And so I would say knowledge would be that third thing of like, show them that they can trust you because you've done your research. And that's how I did it as a loan officer back in 1998, which is a long time ago before I had readers.
I like the readers,
that's how
buddy.
I did it.
You're only a few years from, these are more than readers. These are on all the time.
I have a quarter in this side. So, but most people won't do the research. And it's like, what else are you doing right now, loan officers, that you're so busy that you can't research every loan program and understand every loan program that exists for your borrowers so that you can provide that for them and show them you did your homework. I mean, that builds trust.
So let me run through my ideas, and I'm going to, pull them from a top loan officer. Before I do that, Deborah Bird just made a really good point. She commented, we got this going live in our Facebook group. She said, a great way to see the age of the kids is if they have kids on their tax returns. So remember, guys, like, just look at their tax returns and
look at their Facebook page,
and it will tell you. But yeah, I'm just saying, good idea on that.
Yeah.
So let's let me share my screen real quick and just confirm that you can see it. This is an interview that I did on last Monday, and it's trending. I haven't really promoted it, and it's already got 1,300 views. And Jeremy was talking about a first-time home buyer where he provided 2 different total cost analysis. One that really helped talk about date the rate and marry the house, and then rent, divorce the rent. And so check this out, Ken. He first of all, he wanted to be able to show that consumer that, hey, because rates have gone up, now can be a better time to buy than it was in the past. And then he addressed affordability. So he's showing affordability solutions, a seller buy down without a seller buy down. And then, so showing him different affordability strategies, kind of like what you talked about. Mm-hmm. And then, rates probably are going to go down at some point in time, and don't make up rates. We're not here to push people off the fence and get them excited about something that we don't know if it's going to happen. We don't know when it's going to happen, but showing a future rate here. So at least you're having a conversation around what it is today, what it could be tomorrow. And then he did a second total cost analysis. Again, he's educating. He's pouring into this person, and he did a rent versus own analysis. So he was able to really show, the long-term benefit of renting versus owning, that's education. Like he provided that first-time home buyer with some financial literacy around date the rate, marry the mortgage, which I don't necessarily love that term, but it's trending in the space. And I do think it's a metaphor that people can understand. Like, hey, when you're dating, it's not as permanent as marriage. When you buy a house, that's pretty permanent. It helps people understand the difference. But the point I'm making is education. It's improvement. And then, go ahead, Ken. Anything?
I was just going to say that date the rate. It's so funny because I posted, I posted on that, and I was just like, that's such a great way to look at it. And then I heard there's a camp that hates that statement. It's like, when did we stop just going, oh, that's interesting? Like, we either have to love something or hate it. There's like no in between of, oh, that's really cool the way you did that. It's so weird.
It is. I just don't. I don't play.
I love divorce the rent. Like, I hadn't heard that tag onto it.
I hadn't heard that.
That's even better. It's like the best divorce you'll ever get because you come away with money.
Yeah, no, I liked it a lot. I also, the very next day, that was like really one of my favorite interviews of the year. I put it in the best of 2022. And then I interviewed Shivani Peterson the following day.
That was so good.
Oh,
she's a beast. By the way, beast is good. I've had to just explain this to my company. On my level, beast is the highest you can get.
Yeah.
And you see it in her eyes.
I knew
she talks, you're like, she knows what she's talking about.
How do you like it? How she said, I'm not down with rent changing. And guys, listen to that interview. This is a person you can trust. And she's not shaming anybody, she's empowering with information.
But she has the information. That's the thing. Where we go wrong is we don't know what we're talking about. Her confidence from moment one, and I know when you send me something, it's going to be good. And so you never send me something, you're like, look how bad this thing is. Like, everything you send me is like, this was a killer interview. But like, from the moment she gets on camera, her confidence level, extreme. Where does she get that? The same place, other loan officers, Jeremy Forsythe gets that, Ryan Grant gets that. They're confident because they know what they're freaking talking about. They know what they're talking about, not because they're just smart people, but because they did their research. And most people don't do the research. They don't read guidelines. They don't read new products. They don't spend that time like investing in themselves so that when they talk to people, they come off as, I trusted her the second she started talking, like, because she did the work.
Right. Yeah. And guys, there is a very distinct formula for creating trust. I mean, when I originally founded Mortgage Coach, I had figured out this process the hard way, and kind of developed it myself, but I'm going to show a slide right now. And guys, this is a formula of building trust. I mean, when you really look at a Mortgage Coach total cost analysis, it's a trusted presentation. And it's these three essentials in the bottom. One, you're showing people options, which is uncommon. That is not the default in the mortgage industry. Number two, you're showing those options with different time periods. You know what that's called? It's called transparency. And transparency triggers trust. So options over different windows of time, it's uncommon. It is a formula of trust. And then strategies, like, hey, what if you took $100 and prepaid your mortgage? What if you took a couple $100 and you invested it with a financial advisor? It triggers trust. Like, you're not telling someone that I have your best interest in mind and I'm going to help you make an informed decision. You're just plain old doing it. And then the other thing that process does is it creates authority, because it is expertise beyond the average LO. When you're saying, hey, prepay, you're teaching them things that creates authority. Guys, when you have trust and authority, you have trust. Any comments on that? And then I want to flip the switch and just tackle leadership as a broad topic before we get off this.
Let me take you through my thought process. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, he's showing them a potential future rate. Does it say potential future rate? Is he making the comments? I'm sure he is. Is he making the comments that, this may never happen? Like, this may be pie in the sky that the rate never goes.
You don't have trust.
Yeah. And then as I'm saying that, I'm like, the interesting thing is If you looked at somebody's interest rate on a mortgage right now, they get a house, has a mortgage, has an interest rate on 30-year fixed, and you get rent, your worst case scenario on 30-year fixed is that they keep paying exactly what they were paying, plus taxes if they go up, and insurance. Your worst scenario on a rent is unlimited, right? So I'm thinking of like, are you just showing them best case scenario with the refi? Well, actually, you're showing them worst case scenario with each side of it and making the argument, and he probably does in the video, but making the argument that with rent, your worst case scenario off the charts. Like, who knows? You know, you might lose the house, you might not be. The rents over the last 3 years just went bonkers. And
Yeah.
so, but mortgage 30-year fixed mortgage rates, my payment didn't go up because I'm sitting on a home loan. Like I'm solid.
You're fixing your housing cost in for you know, whatever it is. If it's 30 a month, 30 years, if it's 7 years, it's 7 years. And you're fixing in your purchase price. And another thing you could do is, you know, you could do another column and say, and what if rates go up 7%? Because guys, they could go up 7%.
Yeah.
Like 7% is not off the table in this market. I think anything higher than that would be false fear. But you can start getting into cost of waiting. You know, like it doesn't look like you go down, they're not going to go down a lot. And so anyways, here's my last thought on it. Knowledge is power. You showing that third option, you could lose trust if you're trying to sell people like, oh, rates are going to 4, and you're trying to vision cast that. You could actually explode your trust. But if you handle the conversation right, and it's true empowerment, and you're not trying to push them, you're just trying to empower them, it will build trust. So anything else before we flip to another chapter of trust?
Let's go.
Okay. So I had that in my head, like, you know, winning trust is the new, it's the biggest challenge for mortgage professionals ever. And then our CEO, Rich Harris, shared this article in Slack, not this Saturday, but Saturday before. And it was, what does good leadership look like now versus pre-COVID? I was like, interesting headline. I'm going to read this. And here's the deal, guys. Here are the top traits, according to a study by the Drucker Institute, which is the gold standard when it comes to management and leadership. So the traits, well, actually, I'm going to go to the slides because I see you with your glasses. I'm going to make it easier on you guys because
I can only see through the bottom on the readers. They're just, I did like this
on this. So here's the deal, guys. In 2020, the top 5 traits of great leaders was tolerance to ambiguity, adaptability, risk-taking, openness to differences, and trust. In 2022, tolerance to ambiguity is still number 1. No surprise. It's probably the number 1 every year. Trust is number 2. For the first time in history of this report, curiosity made the list, which I thought was just brilliant. Risk-taking came in 4th, and adaptability came in 5th. So first of all, Ken, I thought that was super interesting that curiosity made the list of the top 5 traits of great leaders post-COVID. Thoughts?
Yeah, I would love to see what month of 2020 that trait was those traits were listed, because it would depend on the part of 2020. A lot happened that year that changed people's perceptions and opinions.
Trust became this year, you know, in 2022.
Yeah. I was just saying, like, for some, like, you know, depending on the shift, but trust going up doesn't surprise me one bit. It is interesting. And this is just in leadership. That ambiguity one cannot be downplayed. I heard somebody say ambiguity is the sin of a leader. It's like our number 1 sin, to do anything that's confusing. And in leadership, the last 2 years have been the hardest to be not ambiguous on. You know, going through a time where it was, you know, and even as I talk to loan officers now, where companies are like wishy-washy on anything. Like, if we don't have some sort of boundary or some sort of understanding and agreement on what it means to be an employee of this company and what are my expectations, it can be really difficult for somebody to stay in it, because you kind of get super confused, right? And even just looking at like the back to work policies, and do we work in the office? I don't know, some people do. And I just talked to a processor is being let go, and she wasn't working in the office. And it's like, well, if she would have been there, she would have been with the team. It may have made a difference, but nobody said she had to be there. And so she's doing what she's saying she's allowed to do. And then that's caused her to lose her job. So there's ambiguity is definitely a huge thing. Making policies, no matter what they are, having a policy is better than not having a policy. And then managing to that policy. The trust factor, there's so much to the last 2 years that can damage trust. I think it was Daniel Harkavy that said a couple of years ago, your people are watching, and I'm sure a lot of people did, but I remember him saying it like, everybody's going to watch you as you go through, coming out of this pandemic. They're going to look at the leaders and find out how you did and grade you based on it. And I'm like, oh, great. That sucks. That's like the worst time ever to grade somebody on anything. And so, yeah, I think I get it. It's just the bigger thing is, how do you establish trust when so many things are different? Like, I wrote a huge thing for my company this morning. Dude, this morning on the plane, you'd have loved it. I journaled pages. I emailed my business partner, Mark Green, pages, like the longest email I've ever written. And then I posted in the coop. We have a company coop, and I posted in there a bunch of just like, this is what I'm thinking right now. And I made it as clear as possible who we are and where we're going and what we're doing and why we're here. And it was so important to me as I was writing it. I was cementing it all inside of myself, right? If I don't write things down that are in my head, it gets a little loud up here. When I write it down, it makes it real. And so to write it down and deliver it is like, this is where we're going. And anything outside of this, they're not going to trust that we're doing the right thing. And so in order to build that trust within the organization, you have to be massively transparent, you have to be massively clear, and you have to have boundaries and standards. And so where I've lacked is I'm trying to like candy coat things, or I'm trying to make people feel better, or, hey, you're going through a tough time or whatever, but you have to just be clear and communicate effectively. And that's hiding stuff or being not being transparent in this market is crazy. Shout out to Rich Jefferson, by the way. I can't talk about this subject without bringing him up. And network funding, that dude still does a video every single day in his coop for his company. He has the most watched video by percentage of coop members. So his company uses our technology. Every day he uploads a video, and you can see who's watched it, and they can comment below it. Massive activity, massive views. And he carried that team through the pandemic all the way till now, and never once stopped communicating. And so you don't have to wonder where you are with that guy's company. You're going to hear it every single morning. You just have to tune into his video. And that's what you have to do. And I'm watching as companies aren't communicating. I'm like, what? How are you not doing videos for your teams right now to let them know what's in your head? Because I guarantee you, every time a loan officer or processor or underwriter or anybody in a mortgage company is invited to a Zoom call, they're wondering if this is the one where they're getting let go. Like, that is absolutely what's happening. And so if that's the only time you're going to bring them onto a Zoom call, you're making mistakes. Like, it's more meetings, more video, more messaging, more of everything that's not an email. By the way, emails, nobody reads those. So more of everything that you can possibly do to communicate. I think that is what builds trust, because then they're on the same page as you.
Totally agree. And I loved everything you said. So, from my perspective, the most interesting thing about what's different about 2022 was just curiosity. The curiosity made the list for the first time ever. It's curiosity has never been one of the top 5 traits of leaders. And so I found that super interesting. And then I'm not going to read off the 2022 competencies, but I am going to read off, the 2020 competencies, but I am going to read off the 2022 competencies, and then let's wrap this up. So 2022, for the first time, global perspective, made top 5.
Wow, look at that.
Manages ambiguity, no surprise.
Yeah.
Interpersonal savvy, emotional IQ, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Collaborative, that's been on the list before, that's not new, but instills trust. So no shocker, we're living in a world of distrust. And so here's the takeaways to the mortgage industry. That and if you're a leader, this should be your North Star. Like what do you want to be as a leader? You want to be curious. Mm-hmm. You want to instill trust with the team that you lead. if you're a loan officer, you want to do these two things with consumers, you want to do these two things with realtors. And when you look and you think about this and you look at how a lot of mortgage people are just like, now's the time to buy. Like I even see jokes like, we're overplaying it, guys. Like if you want to earn trust and credibility, it's about empowerment. It's about giving people options. I mean, I know I'm Mr. Mortgage Coach, but I would go as far as to say that if you're giving a family a fee worksheet and you're showing, here's your rate, here's your payment, your cash to close, and you're trying to like, now's the time to buy. That's one, you're not demonstrating curiosity because you're not giving options, and you're not instilling trust. You've got to, and you can't, like people call it toxic positivity, which I am borderline. Well, first of all, no, I am sure that I have stepped on stages and I have communicated in a way that is textbook toxic positivity because I'm a very positive, optimistic person. But when you say something positive and then you back it up with stats and facts, and you're not just slanting them, and you're not just rent shaming. I'd never even heard that term until Shivani said it. But I think if we just change the narrative a little bit as mortgage professionals, we can really connect with consumers a lot better, be a lot more successful, be leaders that install trust. So closing thoughts, Ken.
Dude, I love that you brought that up because it's the get better mentality. Like we have no choice right now but to get better. You're competing at a completely different level. Somebody's giving out a fee worksheet on a daily basis. They're not trying to get better. Like, what are the things that you need to be doing every day to get better and better and better? It's the only way we make it through. Like the ones who are willing to do something different than they did. If you're doing what you did last year and expecting the same result, there's never been a more ludicrous mentality ever. Like you have to do something better than you did last year. And so investing in yourself, reading more, listening to podcasts, listening to books, like whatever you can do to figure out. And I'm listening to Creativity Inc. I just finished it actually. Hard part about that book, by the way, is the very end, the afterword. He does a thing on Steve Jobs, which just was amazing. And then he does a thing where he like summarizes everything you need to do. And I was like, it was like a billion bullet points. I'm like frantically taking notes. But what I love is I love knowing I'm not the only screwed up person in the world. And I think it can be easy for loan officers to be like, oh, like to live in that world of like, I'm probably the only failure right now. No, everybody sucks. Like nobody's, and you'll hear people on stage that they're killing it. And some people are doing better than they did last year, but everybody's having to fight harder this year than they've ever fought before or than they fought in a long time. And so if you hear from people that are like, yeah, we screwed everything up. Pixar lost a movie. They accidentally deleted a movie. Have you done anything bigger than that? Have you screwed something up worse than losing a movie and having to like figure out where you're going to find that movie? And they found it at somebody's house who had it. Anyway, if you've never done that, you're probably good. So I think part of it is like sitting in the, I'm not as bad as other people are. Like I have to start my day that way and be like, yeah, people have screwed up more than this. I can get out of this. And then you just kind of work hard. But then you just activate and you get better. And so you should be reading more right now. You should be discovering technology more right now. Like Mortgage Coach, you should be upping your game on everything that you do. And again, you have time. I fully understand that loan officers for 2 years didn't have the time to do a bunch of stuff they should have been doing. They weren't fixing problems sometimes. They weren't shopping programs like they should. They were just banging out loans one after another. There is zero excuse right now to not go in and make yourself better. This is the time to get better. I can't remember a time that I was doing really well that I got better. It's always been in these times where it's like, all right, let's freaking grow. And that's what everybody has to think.
All right, guys. So let's get better at being someone who instills trust. I do think video is a component to that in this digital age that we live in. I do think giving families advice is that. I do think, having extraordinary product knowledge. I do think, being compliant. Ken, if people want to follow you on social or, they want to, get better through you or the Knowledge Coop, what are the best
We're doing
ways to do
knowledgecoop.com. If you go to knowledgecoop.com, you can join. It's you just click on join the coop and you can jump in there. We're doing a lot of my social stuff is more like blipping things. And then we're just pumping a ton of content into the Knowledge Coop. So, and most of it's free. that we've got in there, and then we've got classes and all that
Individual
stuff.
loan officers can sign up now, right? Like,
Everybody can, yeah.
Yeah, it used to be,
Yeah.
guys, anyone listen to this? It used to be to get into the knowledge coop, you had to work for a company that had a corporate platform. And a lot of companies do. How many total companies now use the knowledge coop?
175 or so companies.
So a lot of companies, but now individual loan officers can get in there, guys. And Ken has a heart of service. It is a place where you will get smarter, you will get better. If you're new to the business, I mean, make it one of the places you check out. So just go to Knowledge Coop, sign up. If they were going to follow you on a social channel, what do you think is the best way?
I do the most on Facebook. I need to do more in other realms. The company does a lot of stuff on Instagram and TikTok and all the other channels. I'm such a Facebook, like I kind of grew up there in social, and so I just stay there. And then what I do on Facebook goes to Insta, which then sometimes I go to Instagram. It's like you have 150 things you have to respond to, and I'm like, oh, I forgot I post those on Insta. Like it auto posts. So, but if you want to reach me, Facebook, do not send me a Facebook Messenger message. I don't. It's so busy in there. I can't go in the coop and ask me a question. Type in Ken Perry in the coop, and then you can get me, but I'm not on Messenger. So, but if you follow me on Facebook, you'll see a ton of stuff.
And I love that you're giving free advice. You're pushing it here. But if someone wants to pick the mind of Ken Perry, guys, get in the coop. You know,
Jump in there. Yeah.
Be a mortgage.
Yeah, I do.
Be a coop.
On Facebook, also, I don't split company from me because I am myself. I am who I am. And so you'll see mortgage stuff on my personal Facebook page, and then you'll see me. I've been doing walkthroughs of cities I go to. So I was in Vegas the other day. I was in DC last week. I was in Disneyland the other day. I'll be in Wenatchee tomorrow and the next day, Spokane after that, somewhere else, Denver after that, Seattle after that. Anyway, so yeah, follow me. I do city walkthroughs and then burger reviews with my son. You can always track too. We do a lot of, we've tasted burgers all over the world. So yeah, follow me. I do city walkthroughs.
I just played a video. How do I do that? All right. So dude, we're gonna wrap it. Thank you so much for your time, Ken Perry.
Anytime.
You are a true gift to the mortgage industry. Hopefully you got value from this. Anyone watching it, give it a like. If you got value, share it with your friends. And if you have not already subscribed to the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, you better subscribe. Check it out. All right. Take care, everybody.